Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Ferri, and I am the co-founder and CEO of NFTPro. NFTPro is a white label solutions for enterprise brands. We work with some of the category leaders across automotive, fashion, luxury, and sports. And myself, I started in DLT about 9 years ago. Prior to NFT Pro, was a practice lead at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I managed several product innovation projects for some of our Fortune 500 here in Silicon Valley. And then our first project was with Walmart back in 2014 with Food Trust. So quite a long history. It's been great, kind of fascinating, being part of the space, obviously. And we started kind of getting into NFT very early on back in 2017. And I'm very pleased to be here with you all today and share a little bit about the experience that we had here with NFT Pro, some of our clients, some of the case studies and use cases that we see in the enterprise NFT space. So, moving on to the presentation. As I said, NFT Pro is the #1 white label digital commerce solution for enterprise companies. And before we delve into that, I really want to kind of do a primer around why NFTs. First off, is we know that they'll power the future of commerce. Back in the 60s, when the Department of Defense created the internet, it was meant to be a communication tool. So something that helps us communicate, right? I'm in Russia, you're in China, we can talk via data. It was never meant to be a commerce tool. Back in the 90s, with the advent of the adult content, e-commerce started, but again, it's a proxy to physical commerce. To have real digital commerce, we need authenticity, we need digital scarcity, we need trackability. And that's why we believe that in the next 5 years, companies will have two sides of their website. They will have an e-commerce site where they will sell physical merchandise, and a v-commerce site where they will sell digital digital products for the digital life, such as gaming, metaverses, augmented reality, virtual reality, collectibles, avatars, and so on. So it's NFTs will power the third wave of commerce, right? Another reason why NFTs are so important is because there are multiple use cases beyond just commerce. And some of these use cases are enterprise use cases. We see here, for example, that besides gaming and collectibles, from an enterprise standpoint, we're looking at certifying authenticating identities, customers' identities, partners' identities, employees' identities, contractors, but also tag physical assets. So have a pairing of physical and digital. Media files, such as PDF or video, music, documents, as we said, and also real estate. On the government side, you can think about how NFT can actually power taxes, voting rights and identity, vehicle transactions, real estate transactions, and obviously passporting related to ID of citizens. So it's a much broader conversations that we're seeing now, which is mainly evolving around gaming and collectible. I really do believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, NFTs, the word NFT will disappear, and it was going to be just a technology, just like the TCP/IP protocol, something hidden in the back that will power every single transaction of any single digital record. So pretty powerful. When we talk about enterprise NFTs, there are some risk and traps that our customers see as a potential problem, right? When we enter this space, obviously because it's a new technology, security and hacking is top of mind. How do we know that our NFTs or our technology will not be hacked? And so it's one of the elements that when you talk to large companies, it's top of their mind. Why? Because their brand is the most important asset they have. In a similar lens, they see pollution, especially fashion, apparel, automotive, like very polluting industries, they really have an eye for pollution, and they know that blockchain in general is polluting, right? And obviously they're referring to proof of work. Probably they know Ethereum. So for them, using a technology that is green does not, have a risk associated to potential reputational brand damage is a very important issue. And lastly, flops. Most of the enterprise companies don't have ideas around, they don't know how to come up with an NFT strategy, how to do the sequencing or the pricing on, or the type of kind of sales setup, distribution channels, and the marketing associated with that. And so that's another element that, along with the technology, a lot of the enterprise clients are really looking for a methodology and a way to think about what is my strategic, overall here for my brand. Here's some examples that we found in fashion, for example. DKNY, for example, issued some of the NFT on auctions. We know that Gucci over the summer launched their own series. Louis Vuitton actually developed some sort of games with some of the NFT from Beeple. Burberry, we also know that Dolce & Gabbana recently sold about $5-6 million in NFTs. So there's been quite a bit of movement in the fashion space. Automotive as well. I think Porsche did some NFTs on Super Rare. We had NFT Paparazzi that did a Ferrari module. It was not officially involved with Ferrari. Rolls-Royce, they also did something with Diogo Snow and Max Jamali with this Rolls-Royce that was sold, NFT that was sold for over $50,000. We know there's a lot more coming on the automotive space. For example, we have a couple of clients, exotic automotive clients that will be launching their NFT series in Q4 this year. So look out for that. It's going to be really exciting. I can't say any more than that. We also have hotel and travel. There's a general element of the NFT in the travel and hospitality space. It mainly has to do with art and creating some sort of kind of NFT art collection venues that can actually be explored either physically on site or digitally through either VR or desktop. So it's interesting how the hospitality and hotel space business are actually looking at NFTs and trying to really capitalize and kind of get involved into this new revolution. Wines have also made quite a bit of progress in the space. Hello Fun Wine leveraged the NFT to kind of create a game, so gamifying the whole process, called early minting. So creating these kind of rare NFTs with the gamifications around that. The Center Wine created this kind of ecosystem of world's first collectible grape wines, where you'll be able to buy fractional ownership of the wines that obviously will produce the wine, and there's an incentive model around that. And lastly, with wine, basically create these bottles that have these unique labels on it, and each label corresponds to an NFT. So kind of create that kind of element of art plus physical digital twins referred to the bottle of wines. And we also have some home furnishings. It's actually quite interesting. Some designer in the home furnishing business trying their trying out the NFT space. We've seen Misha Khan release a series of fantasy furniture on NFT. Krista Kim also collaborated, kind of creating these digital homes environments based on NFT technology. And lastly, Andreas Rezanger is a designer of 3D furniture, has sold 10 of his own NFTs. So it's been quite an interesting space also in the furniture design, which I think is very appealing. When we look at the service provider landscapes, I think a lot of our enterprise clients, they're a little confused by like who's doing what. And so obviously, we group these 5 elements, and our company really kind of sets us apart. We provide something very unique that we don't see it being replicated yet. And so we see that mainly we have 5 clusters. We have mass marketplaces, the OpenSea, for example. We have the curated marketplaces. Those are the NFTs. We have blockchain technology like the Cardano, the Polygon. The NFT studios, that's, for example, Dapper Labs, where everything is custom. It takes about 12 to 24 months to get to market. And then you have the Ylabel, which is more of a best of, best of both worlds. It provides an all-in-one solution that it's standardized. Part of that can be customized to fit the brand identity, so from a UX UI standpoint, but it gets them up to speed in a few weeks. And so, we really kind of see this quadrant where we see most of the actions happening on the lower side, on the mass market, and very little happening on the top side. And so we're on the upper right, where we really focus on the enterprise level, on the Ylabel, and on the upper echelon brands. So as I said, category leader across fashion, automotive, luxury, sports. Here's a quick overview of our solution. So we start with the technology. It's Ylabel. It fits within our customer website. It launches from there. Has all the bells and whistles that enterprise wants. So GDPR compliance, KYC, AML, enterprise-grade payment processing gateway for both crypto and credit cards. And obviously, it's based on a layer 2 Palm, so it's green and efficient, just like our clients want. We have a methodology that provides the instructions on how to think about an NFT strategy, which is very important. And obviously, it's a package. So it's built for the enterprise with 24/7 account management services, infinitely scalable to billions of users, and more. And lastly, obviously, we're one of the few companies out there that can really kind of link physical products to digital products. A lot of our customers, a lot of the enterprise customers really care about tagging, not just coming out with digital art, but also being able to use NFT as part of their core processes, part of their core products. So having a digital twin functionality for them is really important. Is our team, as you can see here, besides focusing on the logos, you can see here basically the wrinkles, the gray hair, the no hair. I think that's what really matters here as we enter a room with maybe CXO, C-level executives. We bring a wealth of experience, well over 200 years per person combined. And, we're really able to kind of understand how, the problematic, the issues that, C-level executives have. And so we're able to really help them develop an NFT strategy that fits their overall goals from a company standpoint. This is some of our clients. Again, our focus is to help our clients drive new revenue, new way to engage with their customers. A lot of our brands are older, more established brands. And so generational change out represent a real serious matter for them. And so they see NFT as a new way for them to engage with new customers. And here's some of the case studies we've done with Juventus, for example. We created a set of NFTs. We're coming out with a few more sets. They're coming out with a few more sets, Q4 and Q1 next year. And we also have an integration within video game space going on as well. We have a luxury brands, can't name it. But again, one of their issues to the point was actually to be relevant to the next generation, have social network tractions, and also driving awareness and boost financials, especially high margin financials. Since we talk about NFTs, where it's it's a high profitable margin business. And obviously, we work with the luxury fashion brands. Here's an example where we work with very established brands that was really trying to expand the market from a geo standpoint, but also from a generational and demographic standpoint. Go lower on the younger spectrum and focus on the engagement, especially in Asia-based countries. Obviously, it's less about revenues in this case. It's more about generational change out, switching the demographic out, getting to a younger demographics, and leveraging the NFTs for this purpose. And that's it about NFT Pro. So it's been a pleasure. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at hello@nftpro.com. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Christian, for that presentation and kind of like showing the audience a little bit more about, like the use cases of NFTs. And I really think that, we were barely scratching literally like just the surface of like the capabilities of what NFTs can provide. Kind of like some of the examples that you shown earlier is like even like the wine setting, creating NFTs around wine supply marketplaces. And, now we're seeing a lot of brands come into the place as well. Like we're starting to see, automotive, we're starting to see fashion. We're starting to see, more of these infrastructures being built across the board as well. One of the questions I kind of have for you is like, which area do you think is, coming in at masses, or is it kind of like all the different types of industries coming into the NFT space?
Yeah, so I think every single company out there is trying to figure out their NFT strategies, and I think that's vertical agnostic across industries. We heard folks in the gaming space, so gaming companies, right? They're realizing they have a lot of IP. Think about characters, right? This video games have a lot of characters and IP. So thinking, how can we actually leverage NFTs to build an NFT strategy around our IP? But obviously, there's a lot more than that. If you think about that, brands, companies actually are brands, not necessarily they need to have very sexy products like Lamborghini or Dolce & Gabbana, right? It could be a construction company, it could be a water company, it could be a soda company. But what these companies are realizing that it's not about the product, it's about the brand. And so the NFT strategy, kind of the NFT element to it, helps to kind of sell the brand, not necessarily the product. Product could be as an indirect way if you think about incentive, rewards, and gift cards that you can tag to the smart contract. But I think these companies start little by little realizing that no matter what industry they are, whether they're in constructions or whether they are in food or music or anything that doesn't necessarily have to be sexy, you still have an opportunity to make it big in the NFT space.
Yeah, and I think like even with like NFTs as well, it's like right now a lot of people are just thinking of it as like smaller verticals, but there's so many use cases for it as well. Like even technically, like for me, whenever I describe NFTs to any of my friends, there's always like, what's NFTs? I literally tell them it's a representation of any type of data that can be placed onto the blockchain, and it doesn't matter what blockchain it's on. It can be on Ethereum, Polygon, it can be on Cardano or whichever other blockchain that it has, but it serves a purpose of getting it to where you have the ownership of that NFT, whether it's whether it's tied to a physical object or even if it's tied just to like digitally native, you still have that ownership component. So like even with gaming, like gaming, everyone's like, oh, I can just go on and play a game and then what happens afterwards? Well, you just spent like $1,000 on skins, but those skins don't represent something that's aftermarket items. Unless they build a marketplace for it. But then again, you don't truly own the data because the companies own the data. And I think that, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying that that's absolutely right. I mean, I think we're talking about skins, and there's folks that spend thousands of dollars in skins, and they really haven't asked themselves the questions that, do I own these assets? And if you spend $1,000, $2,000 is one thing, but if you fast forward a few years, once we start going to have more interconnected games and metaverses, these skins or these assets that we buy in the digital world, right? Even if it's AR or VR, are going to become a substantial part of our investments, right? And so if you drop 10K, 15, 20K on it, you really want to make sure that you own it. And you want to make sure if the company, right, the metaverse or the game goes out of business, you still own your asset. So I think with time, we realize that these are actually real assets. It's like a stock. Right, and you want to make sure that Fidelity or wherever your broker is not going to go out of business, because if they do, you lose all your assets. So ownership of your assets, of your data, of any digital element is very important. And I think that's going to become more clear with time. But I totally agree with you. It's the very early days, and I think we're getting there.
And even with like on that topic too, it's like a lot of centralized services are using it to where they can create NFTs. And what happens if that service goes down? Like your NFT now no longer has the metadata that's that was already incorporated. A lot of them are now switching to IPFS to make sure that it's a little bit more decentralized, to make it to where, let's say this platform A goes out of business, you're still able to see and physically see on screen that you still have that image up, or even if that interaction with some of the games as well. Kind of like a quick question to kind of like see if like what you're seeing within the industry. I would say like where are the kind of like key, I would say like the key bottlenecks of the NFT industry now, and what needs to happen to kind of overcome those bottlenecks?
Yeah, good question. I think there are two main bottlenecks I see. First is the ease of use, right? For example, in our case, working with large enterprises, we have to build a solution that was custodial. They made it easy for both the brands and the users to sign up, to browse, to buy, to pay, and to enjoy, right? So the whole process, think about a solution that it's more mass market. You allow anyone to enjoy the benefits of owning and trading and exchanging and bragging about their NFTs, right, their assets, without necessarily being a blockchain expert, right? If you think that only 9% of the people around the world ever heard Bitcoin, the name Bitcoin, or even know what blockchain is, means that 91% don't. And so if you want to create mass marketability of something, you really have to make it easy, right? And that's the reason why Coinbase has been such a successful company, right? Because they made something very complicated for most people something very easy. The second bottleneck, I think, has to do with the use cases. As I was saying before, right now it's mainly tagging it to a picture, tagging an NFT to a picture or a video. I think as the infrastructure gets built, right, and we've seen Twitter. I don't know if you've seen, like a couple of days ago, there was an engineer at Twitter that kind of tweeted a little video of their implementation. So they're allowing people to put their NFTs on their profile pictures on Twitter, and to have some sort of kind of check mark that it's actually authentic with the chain logo. So Ethereum, rather than Matic, rather than Solana. And so I think that's exciting because it's a small thing, but it's a big step forward. Say, okay, so what are we going to do with these NFTs, right? And we know that they're going to power a lot of other things, right? But right now it's about building those use cases. So it's going to be a frame TV you're going to hang on the wall. That's actually one of the things we're doing with one of our clients, right? To kind of add to that, it's going to be your profile picture. We'll be able to bring it into a video game. We have a gaming marketplace called Gear, GEER.IT, that brings NFTs issued by our clients into a marketplace where developers can actually see them and bring it into their environments, their games, right? Metaverses, augmented reality, virtual reality. Start thinking about how NFTs can power a game like the Pokemon Go for brands, where these NFTs are strategically located inside stores and people have to engage with the store and with the items and collect these elements that provide different rewards and benefits. And so we're getting there. We're not fully there. We haven't even understood how big the NFTs are going to be. And obviously, like, less sexy stuff, like documents, right? I think documents are a perfect use case for NFTs, where you have to track, you have to authenticate, you have to ensure that a document is not be tampered with, you have to assign permission rights, expiration rights, and so I think I see that as a bottleneck. I think is becoming less of a bottleneck, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, I think like the infrastructure is still young, but like people should be starting, like a lot of companies across the board are starting to develop these so that we can get into the new era. And like I like how you mentioned documents as well. Like one of the things that I always say too is, like, whenever they're like wanting to get deeper into NFTs, I always tell them, I was like, think of it as like a deed to a house, right? You fix one portion of the house, but that data is not translated online. So like the deed to the house can then be represented by passing it down to it without going through a middleman, because like unfortunately for some people, if they lose a house or anything, like this goes through a whole process of auctions and foreclosures and things like that, but it doesn't keep you in the loop. And just seeing all the information online and literally in one form that you can kind of track over time and just be able to view different types of things, like for example, like a will, right? So let's say if I wanted to pass all my Bitcoin on to my children whenever I do pass away, but I don't trust a centralized party, what I can do is create it into an NFT that has a time block, and let's say like 50 years out, hopefully I live longer than that, but let's say like 50 years out, that this time lock, if it meets certain requirements, will unlock and open up. Like if I don't interact with that smart contract for, let's say, 2 weeks or so, like if I'm on, let's say a month, because maybe you're on vacation, but let's say like a month, that this time block then expires, and then now it passes this information to, my my Air, and then from there they can open up the NFT, and it's only through their wallet that they create that they can open it up. And even like the use cases for like supply chain, how you were talking about Walmart earlier as well, being able to track every single item, and it's more efficient for them because they're able to track and see where their delays are and if this needs to be pushed through and things like that.
Yeah,
even,
it's also a risk containment, right? If you have more exposure, Walmart had a big issue back in the early tens, right? They got a big lawsuits out of China for selling fake pork, so that's the reason that kind of pushed them to actually adopt blockchain, right? And they're one of the early pioneers to do that. And then from pork ended up kind of getting adopted to all the other merchandise. But it's a risk containment also. It's when you have a big company like that you're handling business with hundreds or thousands of suppliers or contractors, like visibility is very key, right? It's very important. And if something goes wrong, is we're talking about major reputational damage, financial burden, costs. And so I think that the blockchain element to it's really helpful. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't have clear is that what is the difference between a blockchain record and an NFT, right? Why do I have to have an NFT? And I think the main difference is that the NFT is actually mobile. You can take that record and transfer over to other people, right? Third party, versus the record cannot really be transferred in a sense in an easy way, right? And so with the NFT, you can have that mobility element and programmability element to it that makes it enables many more use cases that are potentially be done with a traditional blockchain record today.
Yeah, and when people think of NFTs, they think of ERC 721, but they kind of also should look at like the other standards as well, like 1155s, and I believe it's like 1190 to kind of make it even more intricate as well. Like even with the 1155, you're able to add ERC 20s into it as well, but keeping that component of basically creating a basket. So similar cases would be like more towards like cars or kind of like adding items into games as well. So you can have it to where, let's say you have a handle and then an ore, and then you melt those together to create a sword, right? But there's still the parent entity of that new NFT. Even for cars, adding new parts, adding new wheels,
right?
Like those use cases are.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of the parent-child relationship, right? I think it's really key there. And you, just like you said, you can create these games. Matter of fact, we're putting one together for one of our clients, launching Q1 next year. And so it's exactly kind of assembling parts of a car. And so yeah, no, absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think it's the early days. I think obviously Ethereum 721 was the origin, the genesis. But I think, with other chains coming into the NFT space, we're going to have a lot more standards, I'm assuming. Who's going to be the winning standards? We don't know. If there's going to be a winning standards, or is it going to be cross-compatible? We don't know. But definitely for sure, there's a lot more innovations around NFTs and how these new features can actually be applied to specific use cases within this, a specific vertical or a specific function.
And then also like the renting of NFTs as well too. Like that one is something that a lot of people wouldn't look at. I mean, like the advertising component, literally just being able to rent out, let's say for like how your frames are, having it to where, literally someone can say, hey, look, this is a billboard. In order to get on my billboard, you need to buy one of the NFTs and then submit the data to that. And then I can show it on the billboard. And it can kind of go in different verticals too, but it's there's so many use cases to NFTs, and it's literally just up to your imagination on how you want to create those NFTs. And we're starting.
Yeah, I think I can add a couple of things. Is that I think there are two barriers there. One is the ease of use, right? A lot of development has been done around technology. At the beginning when the internet came about, it was extremely hard to do anything with it, right? Because you had to be a hardcore coder to even know kind of how to operate it. So I think simplicity, ease of use, I think is going to be key for mass adoption. The second thing is that, remember, we're battling with culture, right? This is going to be a cultural switch, right? Very much how it was different from going, from a pre-internet era to a post-internet era. It took 20 years, right? 30 years, 40 years. So it will take time, right? I think we're very early on, but I think, we have to look at it from an ease of use and from a cultural change out. Everything that impacts the culture takes at least 10 years. And so when these two things are met, I think we're going to start seeing mass adoptions, and that's when I think that the term NFT will fade away, right? It will have just use cases, right? Nobody's talking about TCP/IP network when you're sending an email on Gmail, right? They're just kind of going on Gmail and just sending an email. So that's what I think what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like as the infrastructure grows more, people are going to start seeing the value of what this technology provides, and we're also going to like the last segment of this session. So I kind of wanted to ask you is like, what is your future outlook, and which industry do you think is going to be kind of like streamlining and leading in charge to kind of onboard like that next 1 billion users within the industry?
Yeah, great question. I think, as everything in life, there are, two types of things. So two types of industries. You have the laggards and you have the pioneers, right? And, it's hard to kind of really define them by vertical, right? There might be laggards and pioneers in the same verticals, and there are, obviously. I think, I would segment that as companies that have a burning need for innovation, whether it's for financial reason or for generational change-up reason, right? I think these are going to be the companies that will really push the envelope, right? Push the barriers, right? To really adopt something new that'll provide them, visibility, new use cases, new financial gains, or new way to engage with younger generations. And if I have to kind of locate it within the vertical element to it, to me, gaming has been always the nest for innovation, right? A lot of innovations come out of gaming. So I'm assuming that kind of gaming is going to have something, it's going to be probably one of the pioneers. A lot of the XXX publishers obviously are very territorial. They like to play within their walled garden, if it makes sense, until now, right? But maybe there's way that NFTs can actually help that with new economies, right? Like, if we're talking about bringing NFTs into a game, they're worried about messing up their economy, which kind of yields billions of dollars a year. So there it's about thinking about, entry fees, exit fees. There was a company, I think, called Forte that it was kind of trying to kind of work out those kinks. And so I think gaming is going to be an element that, a vertical that we have to kind of look at. Another verticals, I think there's a lot of uses for luxury, for sure, when it comes to authenticating elements of luxury. So exotic cars or fashion, right? NFT can really provide that, record tracking capabilities for one end. So add value to the product, right? Because authenticate and certify and provide the record to the new owners, right? If you think about secondary market trades, right? Whoever's going to buy in the secondary market and so on. But also provide a link for the brands to know what the secondary buyer are. Because today, companies have no idea, who's going to be the secondary buyer, right? Think about Nike. There's a huge secondary sneaker market. Nike have no idea who's buying the sneaker on the second market. But with NFT, if each sneaker has an NFT attached to it, they'll be able to track, right, every single transaction, right? And if you think about cars, they'll be able to track maintenance or restorations or secondary markets or who the new owners are, and making sure through campaign and incentives that the new owners will end up buying the same brand of a car and not switch to the competitors, right? Plus all the different data and insights they'll be able to get by linking this physical to the NFT is, the geographies, the demographics, what they're buying, when they're buying, what they're reselling. So all this amount of information today is zero, nowhere to be found. And so I think luxury and gaming are probably going to be two of the pioneerish verticals where NFT will have probably the most stronghold in the short term.
Excellent. Yeah, like I think like gaming, like we're also big on gaming as well. It's like seeing, there's already a lot of users already now playing games across the entire industry. And I think that it is going to be one of the areas to kind of help onboard the users over, because they're a little bit more friendly, they're a little bit more into the tech side and understand, like for me, like a lot of us understand how these walled gardens would kind of play. And it's just exciting to kind of see how those would play out in the NFT space. But,
yeah, and I think I'm very big in semantics. I think now we're talking about gaming. Tomorrow we're going to talk about metaverses. And within the metaverse, we'll talk about gaming, working, dating, working out, leisure, reading. So it will encompass a lot more, right, than just gaming. But I agree with you in the short term, that's what we got. But, Epic got $3 billion to build their own metaverse. Atari is working on Alphaverse. Facebook had Horizon, right? So everybody's trying to kind of come up. And, my guess is that at some point, everything will collide, right, and converge into the Ready Player One metaverse. Hopefully, the real life is going to be less post-apocalyptic than the movie. But I think that's the concept.
Yeah, like Facebook is coming out with like Facebook glasses, so we can start seeing kind of like recordings and stuff. So it's just a matter of time before we start integrating AR, VR, wearables and things into the world. And of course, with Facebook, I'm pretty sure there's going to be ad space as well, like how you have on Ready Player One. You go outside, you see a billboard, it's like, taped over. Here's a new ad that's going to be on there.
Just make sure not to crash the car into the billboard.
Oh yeah. Well, Christian, thank you for your time today, and kind of
Sure.
Diving a little bit deeper into NFTs, and hopefully the audience kind of opens up their eyes and sees more the use cases and innovations that can potentially happen, or if not, you guys should start building it. Like literally, this space is really, really early on, and there's a lot of room for innovation. There's a lot of room for network growth and teams to kind of build these infrastructures. And one final question for you as well, for the audience that want to connect with you, like where would they be able to find you?
Well, find me on LinkedIn or christianferri.com. Or they can send us an email at hello@nftpro.com, and one of my team members will forward it. But yeah, no, it's exciting. I think it's a great conference. I think it's very timely, and appreciate you kind of invite me over. It's been great, and I'm available to kind of help our community. I think it's fantastic, and it's just the beginning. So very much looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah, and for NFTCON, like for us, we wanted to have it to where information is free and public, so that a lot of people can, start entering the space. That's why, like, the purpose of NFTCON is to, there's no ticket prices. It's free for everyone to get this knowledge and be able to see the different verticals with each industry as well, and just be able to explore and open up their mindsets to NFTs.